Shree Sai Satcharita, Chapter 29. Narration of Stories of Dreams. I bow down to Shri Ganesh. I bow down to Shri Saraswati. I bow down to the Guru. I bow down to the family deity. I bow down to Shri Sita Ramachandra. I bow down to Shri Sadguru Sai Nath. In this chapter, I will make you listen to Shri's marvelous and unimaginable skills, beyond which have been related in the previous chapter. The subject is the same. Hearing about Baba's incredible leelas in the year 1916, a bhajan party came to Shirdi for darshan. It was a travelling group who heard of Baba's fame at Madras. While going on a pilgrimage to Kashi, they broke journey at Shirdi. They heard that Sai Baba was a great saint, patient, generous, and one who had controlled his passions. He was kind to pilgrims and distributed large sums of money. He was munificent with small change. Half and 1/4 rupees reigned freely. He gave 10, 20, 50 rupees to some. This was not only on festive days or for some special occasions. Every day he gave it happily in the above mentioned proportions. Showmen came, Nautangi troops danced, great singers gave programs, bards performed, persons doing tamasha paid obeisance, kirtankars gave engrossing bhajans. Having heard by word of mouth that Maharaj was generous and liberal in giving charity, they desired to have darshan. Sometimes, if Baba felt like it, he distributed money even to the travellers. He inquired after the well-being of the poor and the meek. Sainath was the embodiment of kindness. There were 4 persons in the party, 1 man and 3 women. The man himself, his sister-in-law, wife and daughter. They were desirous of Saint's darshan. After taking Sai's darshan, the party was pleased. They sang loving bhajans before Sai every day regularly. They belonged to the Ramadasi cult and sang bhajans with great joy. Baba too, if he felt like, gave them a rupee or half a rupee. Sometimes Baba gave them barfi and sometimes he sent back empty-handed. This was his usual practice, but there was nothing definite or predictable about it. That he distributed money, that is true. There is no untruth in it. But he did not give to everybody. No one was aware of what was in his mind. Fakirs and beggars came to beg alms always at Baba's door. Though Baba was very kind, he did not give charity to all. Only he whose time had come to have good fortune, he alone received the happiness of the money. Even a small coin touched by the hands of a saint is obtained only by the fortunate. Let me tell you a story to illustrate this which will satisfy the listeners. After narrating it, I will proceed to the main one. After breakfast, when Baba down, sat down near the dhuni against the pillar in the masjid, a girl called Amni used to come. The young girl was 3 years old, naked, and always came at this time, with mother carrying a little tin box in her hands. Amni would sit on his lap and give the little box in Baba's hands. Holding Baba's hands, she would repeat, "Baba, a rupee, a rupee." Baba was very, very fond of children. The girl was plump and beautiful. He kissed and caressed her and held her closely. Baba would embrace her, but Amni's mind was fixed on the money. "Baba, give," she would say, concentrating on his pocket. Amni was after all a child, but the grown-ups and the elders had the same greed, running only for selfish purposes. Rare was the person who had spiritual inclination. The young girl sat on his lap while her mother stayed a little beyond, outside the railing. She would signal to the girl not to move till he gave her the money. "Am I a relative of your father, or do I owe him anything that you pester me from the time you awake? Useless ones, wanting everything free," Baba would say angrily. But this anger was simulated, for Love rose in waves in his heart. Putting his hands in his pocket, he would bring out a rupee. After he put it in the box and closed it with a sharp sound, as soon as the little box came into her hands, she would run off home. This happened at breakfast time. Similarly, when he left for the Lendi, he gave Amni a rupee, getting angry in the same way. Thus, every day he gave 2 rupees to her, 6 to Jamali, 5 to Dada Kilkar, and 2 each to Bhagya and Sundari. Tatya was given between rupees 5, 10 to 15. Fakir Baba between rupees 15 to 50. 8 rupees were distributed amongst the poor. This distribution was done daily. Be it so. The Madrasis had heard stories of this generosity, and as their selfish desire had arisen for the money, they started the practice of the bhajans. The bhajans were beautiful to listen to, but they were sung out of great greed. They stayed in Shirdi, the whole family, in the hope of getting money. Out of the group, 3 of them had great greed and hoped that Baba would give a lot of money. But only the wife worshipped Baba with devotion. This was her own feeling while singing. Her reverence was like that of the peacock dancing happily on seeing the rain-bearing clouds, or that of the chakor for the moon. One day, when the noon arati was in progress, Sai, the embodiment of kindness, seeing the lady's true state of mind, state of devotion, gave her darshan as Ram. For all others, he was the usual Sainath. He appealed to the lady as the consort of Janaki, that is Shri Ram. Tears began pouring from her eyes. People were surprised to see this. She clapped with both her hands while the tears flowed from her eyes. Seeing this unusual sight at that time, the people were surprised. Seeing this sight, all were curious to know why there was such a flood of intense love and joy only for her. Later in the afternoon, brimming with great joy, she told her husband about the wonderful experience of Ramadarshan given by Sai. I saw Ram, he of the complexion of the blue lotus, the wish-fulfilling tree of the devotees, the elder brother of Bharat, the joy of Sita, and the son of Dashrath. I saw Janaki Nath adorned with a crown, wearing earrings, a garland of wild flowers, apparelled in yellow and with 4 hands. Holding the conch, discus, and mace on his chest was the mark of Vishnu, and he was adorned by the Kaustubh garland. I saw that enchanting form of the divine Purushottam. She said, this unparalleled incarnation of Vishnu who has taken a human form, the heart and soul of Janaki, the bewitching archer, I saw. He may appear as a fakir begging for alms from door to door, but I saw the heart and soul of Janaki, the bewitching archer. He may seem to be an awliya or be seen by anyone else in their hearts as someone different, but I saw the heart and soul of Janaki, the bewitching archer. The lady was very devout, but her husband was very selfish. Women are guileless like this. How would Raghupati be here? The innocent and devout see what is in their heart. We all saw Sai. How can she alone see Ram? He ridiculed his wife with several such remarks. But the lady did not have any ill feeling, as she had not wrongly imagined anything. It was popularly believed that she had earlier attained spirituality. She used to have Ram's darshan often when her mind was calm and composed. Later she became greedy for money. God does not coexist with money. She was unable to have Rama darshan, for that is the need. Sai was aware of all this. Knowing her tendency, she gave her Rama darshan again and fulfilled her desire. Be it so. Later that same night something strange happened. The man, while sleeping, had a frightful dream. He found himself in some city, the prisoner of the police, who had tied his hands with ropes so tightly behind him that the very bones creaked. There was a lockup near which Sai stood outside, quietly and unmovingly seeing the scene. Seeing Maharaj nearby, folding both his hands, He spoke in a humble and pitiable voice. Baba, having heard your fame, I came to your feet. Why has this happened to me when you are present here? Maharaj replied, one must suffer for one's deeds. The man said with great humility, I have not done anything wrong, at least not in this life, whereby I have to suffer this hardship. Whereupon Maharaj said, then it must have been in another life. He therefore replied, what do I know about my previous life? And if at all there is anything, it should burn to ashes by your darshan certainly. It should burn like a blade of grass in the fire at your darshan. Then, why then I have not been freed from it? Then Maharaj said to him, do you have so much faith? When the man replied in the affirmative, he instructed him to close his eyes. As he stood with his eyes closed as instructed, at that moment he heard a thump, a sound as if someone had fallen down. He was startled by this sudden sound. He opened his eyes and began to look around. He found himself free, and a policeman lay on the ground, covered with blood. He was very frightened by this. He began to look at Sainath, who laughed and said to him, you are well caught now. Now an officer will come and after observing everything will certainly declare you to be the culprit. He will arrest you again. Then the person said sincerely, Baba, what you say is true. Now do something and have me released. No one else except you can protect me. Hearing this, Sai said, close your eyes again. After doing that, when he opened the eyes, he saw another strange sight. He was outside the lockup and Maharaj Sai was near him. He did an eightfold obeisance. Then Baba asked him, think well and tell me whether there is any difference between your prostration that you have done now and the ones that you have been doing before this. Then the man replied, as different as the sky is from the earth. My earlier prostrations were done for monetary gains, but this one is to acknowledge you as God. Earlier I had no faith in you. Not only that, I believed that as you were a Muslim, you were defiling the Hindus. That was why I had anger within me against you. Whereupon Baba asked, do you not believe in any Muslim deity? The man replied in the negative. Baba further asked him, do you not have a panja in your home? Do you not worship it during Tabut? Think carefully. You also have Kad Bibi at home, whom you worship and propitiate at the time of weddings. She is a Muslim deity. He admitted this. Then he was asked if he desired anything. The man wished to have darshan of his own Guru Ramadas. Maharaj then asked him to turn around and look. When he did so, he saw Samartha Ramadas standing before him. But as soon as he bent down at his feet, Samartha disappeared. Then, as he looked curiously, a strange thought came to his mind. Baba, you are quite advanced in age and look like an old man. Have you any idea of the longevity of your life? How do you say that I am old? See if you can race with me. And saying these words, Sai began to run, and the man ran behind him. Maharaj raised a cloud of dust as he ran at full speed and disappeared at that moment. The man then woke up. So be it. After waking, he thought over his dream and found that his whole thinking had changed. He extolled the greatness of Sai Baba. Seeing such a marvel, his devotion at Sai's feet was firmly established. His earlier attitude changed and his doubts about Baba vanished. Although the whole thing was a dream, but when the listeners hear those questions and answers, they will realize the profundity therein. By reflection on these questions and answers, the Madrasi learned a great lesson. His antagonism to Sai disappeared amidst laughter and jokes. Next day, early morning, when the group came to the masjid for darshan, Sainath gave them barfi worth rupees 2 and showed his grace. Also, Baba gave them all 2 rupees from his pocket and made them stay longer. They continued with their bhajans and worship. Later, after some time, the group decided to leave. Though they had not received a lot of money, they received blessings in plenty. Allah Malik will give you in plenty. Allah will take care of your welfare. When they set out on their travels, this is what proved most useful. With Sai's blessings and with remembrance of Sai in their minds and hearts during their travels day or night, they had no discomfort of any kind, even in their dreams. They went to numerous pilgrim places as desired, thanks to the blessings received. They had no problems on the way, and they returned happily and comfortably to their home. In addition to the places they had intended to go, they could visit many other pilgrim places. They praised the marvel of Sai's words, and all were very happy. In addition to saints' blessings, the words Allah will take care of your welfare proved true in every way. Their wishes are fulfilled. This Thus, this Madrasi group, all of whom were desirous of pilgrimage and believed in God, all of them became virtuous and full of good qualities. Sai freed them from the cycle of life and death. I will tell you another story as sweet and interesting as this one. If the listeners hear it with reverence and devotion, they would be surprised. How infinitely kind was Sai, and how he fulfilled the desires of his devotees with love, working unceasingly. He was the wish fulfilling tree for the devotees. In Bandra, Thane district, there was a staunch devotee named Raghunath Rao Tendulkar. He was brilliant, courageous, and very knowledgeable. He was always cheerful and loving. He was attached to the lotus feet of Sai with the hope of obtaining the honey of knowledge. He continuously chanted the Lord's name. He has described the Leelas of Sai in a book called Bhajan Mala, Garland of Devotional Songs. He who reads it, he who reads it with devotion and love will be blessed by Sai at every step. His wife was named Savitri and his eldest son was called Babu. See his strange experience. Listen to this story about Sai. Once Babu was confused. He had taken medical education for allopathy, but he did not appear for the examination. He worked very hard day and night. He asked an astrologer whether he would succeed in the examination. Scanning through the pages of the Panchang, the astrologer studied the placing of the planets and, after calculating the Rashi and Nakshatra with his fingers, looked anxious. He said, "You have worked very hard, but this year the stars are not favorable. The next year is very auspicious. You will get through the examination next year without any worries." So, what was the point of sitting for the examination if the efforts were wasted? The student was apprehensive and mentally faltered. Then, the student's mother visited Shirdi after some time. She bowed at Sai's feet and began a conversation about general welfare. Then this matter turned up, and she beseeched Baba in a humble voice and said that her son would have appeared for the examination if the stars were favorable. The astrologer had seen the horoscope and said that the time was not favorable. So, though he had studied well, the son had decided not to appear for the exam. Therefore, Baba, what is this aspect of the planets influencing his lot? Why such disappointment this year? Everyone is eager for him to finish with the exam. After hearing her, Baba said, "Tell him to listen to me. Roll up the horoscope and sit for the examination without any anxiety. Do not follow anyone else's advice. Do not look at the horoscope. Do not believe in astrology. Study with concentration. Tell your son that he will be successful. He should sit for the examination without anxiety. Let him not lose hope. Have full faith in me." Be it so. The mother returned to her home with Baba's permission. She told the son of Baba's message, and the mother assured him with eagerness. Such was the encouragement of Sai's words that the son sat for the exam and answered all the questions confidently. The written examinations were finished. He had answered fully. Still, the lack of self confidence overwhelmed him. Doubts wrecked his mind. Though he had written answers which were adequate for him to pass, the student felt that they were not enough and he lost courage. Actually, he had got through the written examination, yet he felt that he had failed. Therefore, he was dejected and would not go for the oral examinations. The oral examination started. The first day passed by. The next day, a friend came and found that the student was having his meal. He said, "How strange this is. The examiner is worried about you. He asked me to come and find out the reason for your absence yesterday." Tendulkar frankly told him, "When I have failed in the written exam, why should I take the trouble to appear for the oral? Therefore, I have stayed home through disappointment. The examiner, on the contrary, has told me to come and bring you somehow and give you the news that you have passed in the written exam." Then, how can his joy be described? He invoked Sai Maharaj and, without wasting a moment, ran out with enthusiasm. Be it so. Everything turned out well. The desire to get through the exam was fulfilled. Sai also strengthened the devotion at his feet by fulfilling his wish. The handle of the the handle of the grinding stone often has to be moved about to fix it firmly. Similarly is the case with the faith at Guru's feet. Sai strengthens it by testing it. He never said anything to anybody whereby the mind was not moved. This was the usual experience with Baba. He strengthened the faith in this manner. As one goes along the directed path, in the beginning everything seems to go well. Later, thorny shrubs seem to be so spread out that one encounters thorns only in all quarters. Then one's faith is shaken and doubts easily arise. Why has Sai brought me to this difficult path? One could ask. When one feels like this, make a stronger effort to hold on to your faith. These difficulties are there to test you. Then only will firm faith become part of you. Facing these difficulties and constantly chanting Sai's name, all the problems will be removed. This is the tremendous power of the name. That is the purpose of these difficulties, which are also created by Sai. It is only then that one remembers Sai and chants his name, which brings about the end of all the difficulties. So be it. The father of this young man was a very loving devotee of Baba, patient, generous, and of a virtuous disposition. His body had become enfeebled. He had worked in the firm of a foreign businessman who had an establishment in Bombay with sincerity and honesty. Later, with advancing age, his vision began dimming and he was physically weakened. He desired complete rest. As he had no strength to work, Raghunath Rao took leave to improve his health and took complete rest. Even after that, even after that leave had fully expired, as he was not fully rested, he wrote a further application for extension of leave. When his immediate superior saw the application, he recommended the leave, but the head of the office was very considerate and kind. The head of the office was generous. Taking into consideration the sincere services of this worker, he put him on half pay to help the household. This was the government practice which was followed by the topmost business houses, depending upon circumstances in the case of their honest staff members to encourage them. But will my employer continue to give me this pay when I am unable to work? Tendulkar worried. My whole pay is rupees 150. When I get the pension of rupees 75, how will I meet my family's expenses? Was the thought he brooded over. But later, something delightful happened. See Baba's novel Miracle. He asked Raghunath Rao's wife about their welfare. Hear this marvel. 15 days before the final orders of the pension, Baba appeared in her dream and asked her opinion. I wish that he is given rupees 100. Will that satisfy you? He asked. The lady replied, why do you ask? We have full faith in you. There, a decision was taken on his application. Raghunath was a faithful employee who had served well and for several years, so he should be given a good pension. Though Baba had said rupees 100, rupees 10 were given additionally. Such was Samartha, who was compassionate and with immense love for the devotees. Now listen to one more story which is very interesting and entertaining, which will arouse love and delight amongst the devotees. The listeners will enjoy it. This sweet story is about a doctor named Captain Hati, who was a staunch devotee of Baba, to whom Baba gave darshan in a dream early one morning. Hati lived in Gwalior and saw Baba in his dream there. Notice the skillful way in which Baba asked questions and the replies that Hati gave. Baba said, have you forgotten me? Hati immediately held Baba's feet and said, if the child forgets the mother, how will it be saved? In the dream, he got up quickly and went to the garden, picked fresh walpapadi, shidha, and with dakshina made an offering to prove his devotion. When all these items were ready to prove his devotion, Hati moved forward with the scuttle in which they were placed to make the offering. Suddenly, his eyes opened and he realized that it was a dream. Immediately, Hati felt that he must collect all the items seen in his dream and offer them to Baba personally by going to Shirdi. But as he was in Gwalior, he wrote a letter to his friend giving him all the details of the circumstances and persuaded him to go to Shirdi himself. The money will be sent to you by post. Buy good quality shidha and somehow obtain selected walpapadi. Take the balance money with you and offer it to Baba with shidha and other things. Pay obeisance at his feet and ask for prasad and send it to me. As soon as the money was received, the friend left for Shirdi. He purchased all the required items except for papadi, for which there was difficulty. Just then, a basket came there. It was being carried on a woman's head. He called her and was surprised to find walpapdi in it. Everyone was surprised. Even then, he brought all the items and offered them with reverence to Maharaj. He gave them to Nimonkar to cook for Naivedya the next day. The next day, when Baba sat down to eat, he did not touch the dal, rice, etc., but he picked up only the walpapdi. Everyone was surprised. He accepted only the walpapdi and ate only that. Kati was filled with joy when he got the news. The experience that one has depends upon one's devotion. Such was Hati's experience also. Listen to the marvel of the next story and know the sweet courtesy of Sai. A desire arose in him to have a coin of a rupee in his home, which had been touched and purified by Sai. Sai fulfilled his wish. The mind is full of different feelings. Discarding the harmful, only the beneficial ones should be adhered to. Then observe Sai's skill in helping the devotees. When such a good desire arose in Hati, it did not take any time to be satisfied. A friend of his, desirous of Sai Darshan, was about to leave for Shirdi. Only the intention should be good. Then Sai fulfills it marvelously. Those who have virtuous intentions, their well-being rests in Sai's hands. Then Hati gave 1 rupee to his friend with great love and told him not to forget to place it in Baba's hands. When the friend went to Shirdi, he immediately took Baba's darshan. He bowed down at his feet and placed his head there. Then he sat in front of Baba. Baba extended his hand for dakshina, so he gave his dakshina at first. Baba put it in his pocket promptly. Then the friend took out Hati's money. With folded hands, he put that rupee also on Baba's palm and said, "This dakshina has been sent with me by Dr. Hati." This Sai is the dweller in all hearts. Even though Hati was in Gwalior, knowing the desire in his heart, he sat minutely looking at it. Displaying affection, Baba held the coin before his eyes. He kept on singularly gazing at it. The people stared at him. He tossed the coin up with his right thumb and caught it with his hands. He played with it in this way for some time. Then he returned a rupee and said, "Return this to whom it belongs. Take this Udi Prasad along with it. Tell him that I do not want anything from him. Stay well." Prostrating at Baba's feet and putting the Udi Prasad at the proper place, that friend took Baba's permission and returned to his home at Gwalior. After reaching Gwalior and giving the rupee to the doctor, he related in detail all that had taken place. Hati was choked with emotion. He said, "The purpose that I had in mind, and as I had wished, Baba fulfilled my wish, knowing my desire." This was what Hati felt, but this was his interpretation. Who can understand the plans of the saints and their purpose? Even if this Hati's belief is true, then observe another incident. It is exactly the opposite of this. The saints alone know their purpose. He returned one person's rupee and pocketed the others. Who can explain the reason with certainty and what was in Baba's mind? He alone knows his reasons. We should only enjoy what is happening and not miss the lovely opportunity to do so. Listen to the story to this purpose. Once, Vaman Narvikar, who had an immense love for Baba, brought a beautiful coin to offer it with great devotion. On one side, the facsimile of Rama, Lakshman, and Sita was engraved, and on the other was a pleasing image of Hanuman with folded hands. His intention in making the offering was to get it back after Baba had touched it with Udi and Prasad. Baba always knew the innermost wishes of others fully, yet, when the coin was placed in his hands, he promptly put it in his pocket. Madhavrao explained Vaman Rao's desire to Baba and earnestly entreated him to return the coin to him. "Why should it be given to him? We should keep it ourselves," Baba replied in clear tones in front of Vaman Rao. "However, if he is ready to pay 25 rupees as its price, I will give it to him in exchange," Baba said to tell him so. Then, to get back that coin, Vaman Rao quickly collected the required money from here and there and gave them to Baba. That amount too he put in his pocket as earlier and said, "Even a heap of rupees cannot equal this one in value. Their value will be less than that of this coin." Further he said, "Shama, you take this. Let it be in our collection. Keep it in the shrine and keep worshipping it." Now why did he act like this? Who had the authority to ask him? Sai knows what is right and what is wrong. He is the mighty giver and receiver too. Be it so. Now that this story is completed, let us give a rest to the minds of the listeners so that they may contemplate and continuously dwell on the stories which they have heard already. Whatever is done or heard cannot be assimilated without contemplation and continuous study. Listening alone will be useless. Therefore, Hemad surrenders to Sai. He holds his feet on his head, which is the best means for achieving anything. Further narration will come later. May there be well-being. This is the end of the 29th chapter of Shree Sai Satcharita, written by the devotee Hemad Pant, impelled by the saints and virtuous people, called Narration of Stories of Dreams. This is offered to Sri Sadguru Sai Nath. May there be auspiciousness.